Hi, Nick Collier here. I think it's June 30th, something like that, a couple more days to 4th of July, which I tend to shy away from. And we're going to start on a new project today. We've got two very small pieces of black onyx here. And I think what we want to do is make some earrings out of it. This is one that, interestingly enough, I have made these earrings, I don't know, in my career, and I started making these earrings fairly early. In my career, I've probably made 1,000 pairs of these. But I haven't made any for, 10 years or so, maybe even longer. And so it's time. It's time to make another pair and also show you some of the tricks of making this type of earring. So first thing I want to do is make sure that both of my stones are equal in size, and they are, because sometimes these are hand-cut stones and sometimes they're a little bit off, but I think they're fine. So we're going to make a bezel for these, and since I've already really shown you how to make a bezel, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and you won't have to, sweat through the hours, not hours, more like 20 minutes of building two bezels for these. So we'll be back once the bezels are built. See you then. Okay, we were going to make a pair of earrings, but it turned out that I ruined one of the bezels, which is how unlike me. So now we've shifted our approach, and we're going to make a pendant out of this little piece of onyx. So we'll put that aside, and I've got some ideas here. Basically, I'm going to take a pretty heavy-duty piece of silver, and this hammer is a special hammer. It's got, if you'll notice, it's got just a bit of an arch to it, which gives it a perfect ability to make to take a piece of wire and spread it and give it this kind of nice Nouveau kind of approach. So we're going to do that to two or three pieces of metal, all of different angles. We could probably just do that in front of you. And I'll just take it here where I'm going to cut it. And first thing I'm going to do is bend the next bend, then cut it, and I'm ready to do the next arch. Get to the place where it makes one last little stretch. Open this up again while we're listening to old 60s music on the radio. What is that? Jimi Hendrix, maybe? Wow. Takes me back. Oh, I gotta cut this. There we go. And we'll do a third one here. And get ourselves a nice finish. And there we go. So now we can take these, and they're basically just random shapes. And I'd say this one can go inside of that one, and this one can go inside of that one. And we've got the basis of some kind of design. I'm not sure what it's going to come out like. Maybe something like this. And maybe something right at that point right up here, like a big piece of silver, or maybe a little gold. And that'll kind of give us what we want. Now, the ends out here are a little rough, and they need to be, something needs to happen with them. So we're going to take it over to the torch and play with that a little bit and see what we've got. Be back. Okay, we take one of these pieces, and you can see that the edge is pretty rough, and we'll just give it a little bit of heat and go ahead and drop it in on a piece of flux dried up flux that's been laying around. Just kind of use it as just to get a little flux on the bottom of it. And then come in and heat up that bottom. Let's see if we can get that a little bit better. There we go. And watch what happens when it heats up. And it depends on which way you hang it as to which way the metal goes. Quench it, and let's have a look at it. Now, of course, it's gotten real dark because we've fire scaled the heck out of it. Let's bring this back. All right, we're going to turn off for a second. So we started with this edge here, nice and rough like that, and we've ended up with this kind of a little ball on the end, and that was from hitting it with the torch. So it kind of mellows out that end fairly quickly and without too much pain. Now, of course, we've got some roughness down on here, but that can come out fairly quickly once we get it all welded together. Okay, here's the part that kind of gets fun. Let's flip that stone around so that we can actually have a shape that we recognize. Well, not exactly, but yeah, it's close. So here, as I said, here's the part that's fun. We've got the, oops, I put that one in wrong. Okay, well, just go with the flow. So we can kind of drop this in. That's an interesting design right there as it is. Now bring this up just a little bit higher. And there's something else that could work too. Actually, that's not bad right there. Maybe bring that together. Take it back just a little bit. And we get, maybe put a bail right up on top here. And so then we've got the silver part of the design back here and the stone here. Notice how this little part here is kind of squared off and it doesn't really look that good. So let's take one little piece here and we're going to cut it to the angle. Now they're playing the doors. My God. Alright, now that looks better. That kind of matches right in there. Better, but I don't like it. So there's something missing. Something's not there. How about if we switch these out? See what happens there. Just the two isn't too bad. What about flipping this? Well, what about flipping it this way? Oh, that's not bad. It's kind of like a puzzle, as you can see. You know, you just keep moving things around until something fits. And that, I like that. That looks really good. Yeah, put a bail up on top here and we'll have it. Maybe just bring this down just a little bit more and this up just a little bit more. I think I can live with that. Alright, so now before we do any welding or anything like that, I'm going to come in and pre-polish all of these ends so that you know, so that I get a nice smooth surface there, and then when I come in to weld it, it welds to a nice smooth surface, because later on when I weld it in here, none of these are going to fit. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're going to drop in this polished piece just to give us an idea of where we're going here. And that looks pretty good. And this part up here where it connects with this one here, right in this little section right there, you know, I just got to come in and shape that a little bit in order to get it to fit really nice. But for right now, we're going to pull this piece away, and we're going to take it back and polish it. All right, well, we've got the piece fluxed. We've got it set up. We're ready to weld. We're going to drop this torch in here, and we're going to just basically drop a couple of weld joints in. This one right down here at the bottom is going to be the first, because that'll hold everything together, and then I can come in at the top and play with that a little bit later. So now it's just a matter of bringing everything up to temperature evenly. And dropping a little bit of solder right into that joint there. And when the solder, and again, I leave the solder there, and I'll know when everything's ready to go when that solder starts melting. And just kind of, I have to heat everything at one time. Get it, bring everything up to temperature evenly. There it goes, it's starting to melt. There it goes. Plunk. Add just a little bit more to it. That should fill in all the gaps. That's good. Now we're going to come in, and we're just going to kind of work our way up. We've got to add just a little bit of solder right there between the bezel and the design, just so that it can grab it. Now you saw I just put just the tiniest bit in there. In fact, it moved a little bit, so I think what I want to do is bring it back once I bring it up to temperature again. Just kind of tap it back in place, and that should do the trick. Now we have one more little piece up here where these two connect, and the less the better in this case. And the way you can go ahead and cut ships, and it works. In fact, it works really well. But over the years, I've learned to be able to control this solder so that I can just do it from the wire, and it works. Not only that, but it's pretty fast too. And I've pretty much got everything welded there. And that's a nice, sweet little design. Let's grab it, put it in the acid, or in the water, quench it out, and we'll have a look at it and see what it looks like. Yeah, looks pretty good. Now we could put a bail on it here, or we could hang it that way and put a bail that way, which isn't too bad. I don't know about that way. I'm not sure that will work. Let's bring our focus back a little bit. So yeah, time to make the bail and figure out where it's actually going to hang. For the moment, I think we can just drop this in the acid and kind of get it cleaned up a little bit. Oh, did I put a triple solder right there? I'm not sure. Well, once I drop it in the acid, I'll know. Feels solid. Okay, in the acid. We're going to come back to this later on this afternoon. We're going to make a bezel for this, or not a bezel, I'm sorry, a bail. And I'm going to start with this piece of square wire, and that should give us some basic thickness that we want, and I think that's going to look pretty good just like it is. Except the wire is too square, and I want to make it more rectangular, so I'm going to run it through the rolling mill just to kind of rectangle it out a little bit. So we're going to step over here and go into the rolling mill. Open up the jaws until we get the wire to just slip through there. There it goes. And then close the jaws back up again a little bit. And basically run the piece through couple, 3 or 4 times till we get it to let's see what that looks like. That looks a little better. I think we could still go through a time or 2 more. And yeah, it's starting to really get rectangled out, as you might say. Okay, come back over. And if we want to come in real close, we can see that the tip of this is more rectangular now. And so basically we're going to take a round nose pliers right there. Oh yeah, first, well no, we don't have to. And then, and I always make it extra long because you can always cut it off. And as usual, it's harder to add metal than it is to remove metal. So a little extra long isn't a bad thing. Notice how it's just slightly off center a little bit. And you know, the metal will tend to do that, especially since it's not annealed. So it's not extremely soft at this point. But you just got a little together, cut it off, and we have the beginnings of the bail. Now for this little piece, this bail is probably way too big, so let's just kind of trim it back a little bit until we come up with something that really matches the piece. That's a little better. Yeah, I think that's going to be much better. Now, notice that let's get something to point with. The metal is pretty square at the bottom here, and if I just push these 2 edges together, that's going to be a lot of metal to try to get to fit on top of this pendant. So it's time to come in with the barrette file. And the barrette file's, you know, got the no file on the back side and a file on the front side. And we just kind of come in and trim off the inner part. And in fact, let's just do it a little faster. We'll take the wire cutters and just cut back. And with silver it's pretty easy. Gold would be a little more difficult because it's much harder material, but silver's very soft and very pliable. Okay, so now we've got something that's a little bit more pointed. Squeeze it together, and now it fits much better.